Welcome, everybody, to Write Out Loud, the podcast about storytelling, writing, and all of those creative arts that we hold so dear. Today's special for two reasons. First, I'm thrilled, of course, to introduce my co-pilot in creativity, Christina, whose bright energy, a boundless and infectious enthusiasm are about to elevate this podcast and bring it to a whole new level. And second, we're joined by best-selling author Suzanne Brockman, a writer whose work has inspired countless readers and authors, including us. She's here to share a brand new Kickstarter campaign that we are so excited to tell you about. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, let's jump in and join the conversation. Hello, Suzanne.
Hello, how are you guys?
We're fantastic now that we have you here.
Absolutely excellent.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to talk about this really interesting project that I'm doing right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have been wanting to get you on the podcast for a long time. I don't even know if AI can go through all of our episodes sometime, Matt, and check how many times I have referenced Suzanne Brockman and Deep Point of View. And anybody who wants to learn how to write Deep Point of View, go to Suzanne Brockman. Yeah, so I'm a fan.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Suzanne, if you don't mind, just give us a quick rundown. Tell us a little bit about yourself, just for those that might be listening who aren't as familiar with you. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I've been writing romance novels since 1992. So it's been quite a few decades here of doing that. I found my kind of niche in writing military romantic suspense focused on a team of Navy SEALs. I've written 2 series that feature Navy SEALs, and the one that's still ongoing at this point is the Troubleshooter series. And yeah, so I've been doing this for a while. More recently, I've started producing indie movies with basically LGBTQ rom-coms.
Nice.
That
My favorite.
has been taking my attention for the past 7 or 8 years or so. But yeah, no, I just wrote another book in the Troubleshooter series. It's called Jules Cassidy PI, and yeah, I'm doing something a little bit different with it. I've been. Yeah. Go for it, Tina.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, you just announced it just a short time ago that you're doing a Kickstarter for this one. So I know that you've done Kickstarters for your other projects, but this is the first time you're doing one for a book that you've written. And in fact, this is connected to your series, The Troubleshooters, that you used to traditionally publish. So what went into that decision of going the Kickstarter way?
Well, the world's a dumpster fire. And I do know that many of my readers, I have a pretty progressive base of readers, and I know a lot of them are staying away from big corporations that have kind of co-signed the fascism deal that's happening. And how, as a self-published author, how do you market a book in this day and age if you're trying to respect the reader's desire to kind of stay away from places like Amazon, which is the big bookseller. So with my experience having produced indie movies and used Kickstarter as a crowdfunding, because so LGBT rom-coms, there is a definite audience for movies, and especially for movies with gay characters that have happy endings, especially the movies that we produced, which were basically set in the post-coming out world. So there's a lot of really great films that deal with coming out and with the drama around that. But my co-producers and I really wanted to focus on, hey, there's more to life than after. In fact, there's an entire life after you come out. And so those are the films we were making, and we needed, because because those type of films don't get support from big studios, we really felt like we needed to crowdfund and reach out to this kind of very vocal, dedicated audience that likes LGBTQ indie films. So we used Kickstarter for them. And I've done four different Kickstarter campaigns for four different film projects. And, starting back in, when was it? It was 2015 was my very first Kickstarter. And the platform has changed considerably. It's become more, what is the word I want? Flexible. And it's just easier to use all around. So coming in with that, really knowing how to use the platform, really understanding how it works, it just seemed to be a really good fit for this book, where I really just didn't want to give Amazon a lot of money.
Yes.
Sure.
And also really respect. I think we are in a place in the history of our country where a lot more people are becoming activists than have ever been before. And so the first thing I want to do is encourage that activism. And so here now, be an activist and come over to Kickstarter and get this book. I can also, because of Kickstarter takes a smaller percentage of everything, of the money, I can price the ebook a little bit lower, and everybody wants a good deal. So that's good. So it really felt like a win-win to go with Kickstarter.
That's awesome. I mean, when you think about Kickstarter too, how difficult is it to come up with the different levels? I think about doing a Kickstarter campaign for myself, and I think about things that I would launch through Kickstarter. But I think about the planning stages and the different levels of, if you chip in this much, right, you're going to get this, you might get a signed autographed photo of Suze. Or if you get this one, you might get an advanced reader copy or something like that. But how difficult was that process?
Well, having had the experience of doing this for the movies, where it's a completely different animal. Like with a book, I really kept it simple for this Kickstarter that I'm doing. You can get an ebook, $8. There you go. Yep. And you have to also understand Kickstarter speak. So you pledge. You don't buy a book. You pledge, or you support, or you back, and the book is your reward. So I'm the creator, you're the backer, and you pledge your support. And when the Kickstarter closes, your credit card gets charged, and then I, the Kickstarter creator, then your reward.
Sure.
And so these levels, these types of rewards with a book, it's like ebook, paperback, hardcover. And then basically, so that was basically where I started. And then it was like, okay, so we'll have we can do a Zoom and $2 extra and join this group Zoom. And here's a couple of dates,
Sure.
January 4th and December 20th for the people who maybe need a little bit of a break from the holidays to go into the bathroom by themselves and get away from everybody. But nice. So I did that, and so then it's the ebook with the Zoom, it's the paperback with the Zoom. So I really, with a book, I really kept it simple. And Kickstarter now has an option to have rewards that are called add-ons. So, okay, so here I am with a self-published backlist of 23 books. And so I thought, hey, this is an idea, since we're all trying to avoid giving money to the big corporations. And Kickstarter is a really great way to, if you think about it, self-published authors are like the ultimate mom and pop business, because here we are, we're writing our books, and that's our small business. And with Kickstarter, it's really the middleman is kind of gone. It's Kickstarter. They take a pretty tiny percentage. Sure. And Kickstarter, let me just also say, Kickstarter is not perfect. It's a big corporation too, and there's trouble everywhere. But but they do take a smaller amount. So with these add-ons, I was able to put my entire backlist up as add-ons for ebooks, $3 each. So, and if you're looking for something that's a lot lower than the regular price for a lot of these books. And some of them, many of these books are 20 years old, but there's the newer stuff is there too. And so I've had people come in, buy the new ebook, Jules Cassidy's ebook, and then add on every single one of my backlist.
And that's great.
How cool is that? Really, I win, they win, everybody's happy. And
let me tell you, someone who has read every single one of Suze's backlist, those are excellent books. There's not a bad one in the bunch. Not a bad one in the bunch. And from your first stuff that you did with it, I don't know who published you first, Love Swept or one of those early Harlequin, whatever, those are all, that's where I came in with you on. So I have big heart for those. So that was a cool option.
Yeah. And all those Love Swept books, the rights have been reverted to me. So I've reissued them. And I reissued them. They're all written and set in the 1990s. Mm-hmm. So they are historical romance at this point. Because I'm sorry, nobody has a cell phone. And they're pagers. Oh my God. And payphones. And people, Walkmans all the 90s stuff. And so as I was reissuing them, I was like, let's embrace this. These are all books that are set in the 90s. So I wrote little intros about the fact that, they're set in the 90s and enjoy the escape from the noise of our world and step back a few.
You made the choice to not change a word in the stories to update them, but rather put a little, hey, these were written way back when, and that the context is, exactly that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. I did. There are a couple of my books that I've reissued that I've annotated. And with an ebook, it's really easy. With an annotation, you just click on it and it pops up. And so it's nice. Kind of like a film with the director's commentary. Because I am some of my earlier stuff, the editors really dipped in, and there were all these rules about you don't say penis and also just like women who had their condoms ready because they were sex positive. I mean, sex positive was not a thing back then. And so I had to add all this stuff about the women who did this isn't that. So I was able to go in with annotations and say, oh, look, aren't we so happy things have changed from this situation where women had to pretend they didn't like sex or wanted,
Oh, that's really, that's brilliant, Suze. I think that's really great. Rather than not enjoying the context of what you had to put in there at that time, you were able to come on and leave it again as original, but yet put in there and make everything let's give it a little laugh at how we were back at that time and what we had to put in there. But just to kind of continue with the Kickstarter, something occurred to me when you started talking about Kickstarter takes a smaller percentage, but you called it the middleman, and it clicked with me with something else. Do you feel, and maybe this is something you can answer in the future, maybe it's not real clear to you right now, but do you feel closer to your readers when doing something like this rather than traditionally publishing or even self-publishing?
Yeah, Tina and I have a long history.
Yes.
And so she's really aware of, back in the day, I used to do something called a virtual signing where I'd use PayPal and allow people who couldn't come to an in-person signing to get a signed copy of the book. So I would basically move 1,000 books into my home and sign them all individually. You could get it signature only or personalized, and that was done through the internet, and so I've always had that sense of kind of closeness and connection to my readers, and this just feels like a continuation of that. And I have to tell you, I got 709 backers so far on this project. So,
wow, that's amazing.
And I go through, and I've gone through the list of everybody who backs the project. I send them a message saying thank you. And I recognize a lot of names. And and when I do recognize a name, I often give them a little extra shout out, like, hey, nice to see you here. Boy, we go way back. And so it does. Because, and some of with Kickstarter, you don't have to necessarily put your last names, but the people who do, I recognize them. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the Kickstarter that's been really kind of interesting in a very interesting, kind of scary way, is that so many of the people who are backing this project are first-time Kickstarter users. In fact, I just, before we got onto this podcast, I kind of went in there to look at, out of the last 12 people today who have backed the project, 10 of them are first-time Kickstarter users.
Oh, geez.
So, So this shows me that, something that I learned from the earlier Kickstarters that I did is that readers aren't necessarily into movies. We know that, right? As readers and people who are connected to book people. And so this Kickstarter since it's focused on a book, is bringing a lot of people who have never tried Kickstarter before, never used it, and so there's a certain amount of, shall we say, human error.
Sure.
and which is normal. And oh my God, how cool is it that people, and some of my readers are getting up there in age, and yet they are willing to like boldly go.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And
Yeah.
so what I've been
really
doing is in my messages back to people when I see, and Kickstarter tells me first time backer, that if somebody is new, I get a little like message about that, and so I'm able to say to people, okay, you're new. Here's the lingo that we use on Kickstarter, because it really helps to understand, to speak the same language as Kickstarter, because Kickstarter is telling you all this, like fill out your backer survey. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the things that I have been making sure people understand is that this backing a book on Kickstarter is different than pre-order. It's a lot like pre-ordering a book, because the book is going to come out on a set date. In this case, with Jules Cassidy PI, it's December 11th. And with a pre-order, a reader will just click that one click and forget about it until, oh, look, the book pops up into their e-reader. But with Kickstarter, I need the backer, the person who is buying the book, to fill out something called a backer survey, so that I can get the information I need, like their email address, so that I can send them the book, which I'm going to be doing with a service called BookFunnel. Are you guys familiar with it?
Yes.
It's awesome. Really
For
easy to use.
For those in our audience that may not have, can you just give us a little brief on what it does?
Yeah, it's a website or a service that allows authors to basically send readers ebooks in a very simple format. As a reader, you just basically give an author your email address, and you will have then, like, I can send a copy of Jules Cassidy PI to that email address, and then the reader just logs in with the email address. They'll get it. They can either create a password, or they can just do the sign in through email thing that's pretty common these days. And then they're on the BookFunnel site, and the ebook is right there, ready for them to download. Now, BookFunnel is really cool because they will help you download the book to the e-reader of your choice. So if you are a Kindle user, its instructions are right there, easy to follow. Same thing for Nook and Kobo, and you can even read the ebook right on the BookFunnel site. So it's a very cool service that I became aware of when I did, I think it was Romancing the Vote, one of the fundraisers for democracy that a lot of romance writers did. And I gave away several hundred copies of ebooks, and basically it was push a button and bloop, there you go. So it's really easy. It's easy for an author to use. It's equally easy, maybe even easier for a reader to use. It's a great service.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I have a couple questions about it, just Kickstarter in general. I think, was there with all the backers that you had, did any of the interaction shape the story or shape the campaign, or like have any kind of impact on that? Or was that all pretty much decided and you're interacting with them and kind of, as you described, like thanking them for joining and helping the newbies to get acclimated and all that? But like, was there any sort of like impact that they had on either the story or the campaign itself?
Not for this project. I have to tell you that for some of my film Kickstarters in the past, I've done things like created a reward. Again, Kickstarter speak, right? It's a reward of be a beta reader for my next book. So in the things I've written in the past, I've actually had people like sign up and donate money to the film project, and their reward is to get an early copy and give me feedback. Okay. And but with this case, with Jules Cassidy PI, the book was written. It's pretty much ready to go. I'm doing the final page proofs and proofreading, just trying to catch those last typos. But yeah, not for this one. There has been any of that.
Okay. And then the second question is, if you're talking to an author that is on the fence about using Kickstarter or crowdfunding, is there any words of wisdom or any, like, what would you tell them if they're just like, I don't know?
I think it's the future. I think more and more authors are going to do it. And, as I've been working on this project, as I was setting it up, and over the past several days, it's been about 10 days now that the Kickstarter has been live. The campaign has been live. And I've noticed that the majority of books and authors who are doing campaigns on Kickstarter right now are romantasy and science fiction. And I think that genre in particular tends to lead the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but I really do think that more and more authors are going to do this because, I mean, we're in this kind of weird world where you don't need that big of an audience to earn a living. It used to be, I mean, or a royalty back in the day when writing books, I would get, there was a time when I first started, in fact, the Harlequin books, my royalty for each book wouldn't cover the price of a stamp.
Oh,
and
gosh,
so,
yeah.
so, and there'd be like, people would be like, why don't you send postcards to people to let them know you have a new book? And I'm like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, mailing, no, email, nope. Yes. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I would like to delve into just a little bit. Again, no spoilers, but I've gotten a little sneak peek at Jules Cassidy PI. But I know you haven't been in the Troubleshooters series since, I think we said 8 years, maybe?
17 was the last book.
What made you decide to revisit them? Why now after such a break? And how was it getting back to them?
Well, I started writing this book about 2 or 3 days after the election in last year. And it's funny, the election in 2016 made me want to not write. And this time around, I just felt like, oh my God, I have so much to say. And I just felt like it was really important to bring Jules back and to kind of show what happens to him as an FBI agent in this administration or in a similar administration. There is a sense of vagueness about the present day in the series. But yeah, so it was weird. It was like I had to write again. And it took me 11 months to write this book. I've got long COVID. And so everything is harder and takes longer. And when I flare, it's brutal. And I had to really reorganize my method of writing to overcome the brain fog that comes sometimes with this. Yeah. But I really wanted to tell the story. And it's basically Jules's first assignment as he is the new head of Troubleshooters Los Angeles office. And there's a secondary plot in the book. It's a pretty hefty one. And I felt that this was a great place to tell this story, which is 17-year-old Jules in high school, basically his first mystery that he solves. It's basically the story of why he becomes an FBI agent in the first place. And the intermeshing of those two stories really worked for me as the writer. And I got to tell you, though, because it had been so long, I spent the entire year rereading the Troubleshooters series. I read it completely through about twice. Some of the books that were heavy with Jules and Sam, because Sam Starrett plays a big part, Navy SEAL, former SEAL Sam plays a big part in this new book too. So books like Hot Target, Hot Pursuit, All Through the Night, Gone Too Far, where both Sam and Jules play large parts. I've read them many, many times. One of the things with long COVID is one of my particular symptoms is insomnia. And I decided sometime this past year that instead of doom scrolling, I would simply read the Troubleshooter series. So
nice.
So there I was, 4:00 in the morning. I'm like, reading is so much better than doom scrolling. I just got to say,
Yes.
Yeah.
And to have their voices in my head repeatedly while I was writing this book. So I think that was a benefit, because doom scrolling, not a healthy thing to be doing, people.
Especially these days.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, as a fan, I did get an early copy. Sue sent it to me, and as a fan, it really did bring me back to those days. I can see myself after this going back to those books and rereading them and enjoying them. And actually, I absolutely loved the young Jules story. it actually, again, it made me think back to those troubleshooter books where you had the World War II plots. Now, this certainly isn't a World War II plot, and it's not historical in the sense other than Jules is 17, but it made me remember the connections between each subplot and how beautifully that you do that, where I don't see that in other people's work. So
Thank you.
that I was really excited. So having said that, will there be more in the Troubleshooters series? Is there going to be more?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well,
Tell us more.
When you read the book, you will see that there's things I'm setting up. There are a couple of characters who are moving into the Troubleshooters universe. I mean, Jules is there. He is in Los Angeles, and a lot of people are leaving government service these days, shall we say?
Yes.
And that includes people in the military. And I really see this book. It's different from the other Troubleshooters books because it's really not. It's a mystery with comedy and dramedy and with romantic elements. And our two main characters are Jules and Sam, and that's their fast friends and their that their relationship. In a way it's a bromance novel, but it's the secondary characters who have the romantic, who bring the romantic elements into the book. And I just what I imagine is a world where Jules gets to work with a whole lot of different members of the Troubleshooters team, and as well as maybe a Navy SEAL or two who is going to retire at this point. So it does allow me to continue the series that way. And I also realize the book ends. It's not really a spoiler. The book ends.
Yeah.
Although with this one, I got to tell you, I was writing it, and sometime I thought I'm going to finish it this summer, and I'm at 125,000 words, which. Tina,
that's huge.
That's a long book. That's long even for me. And I'm like, this book will never end. I'm just going to keep writing it forever. And because a book's got to be as long as a book is. That's the way it goes.
Exactly.
And so the book does end, thank goodness. And it has occurred to me that I can even return to the young Jules storyline because it ends rather early in the school year. There's a lot of months to go before graduation. And I really found those characters, they were particularly delightful to spend time with, for me, the writer. Anyway, I really hope
for the reader. Yes, for the reader, it was. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and in fact, I was a huge fan of Veronica Mars, and so that part in particular, I love the teenagers with purpose, with ideas, with camaraderie, caring friendships, the care that they have with one another. So I personally was like, I hope we don't see the last of these guys. So yeah.
And the beauty of being a self-published author and throwing all the rules of publishing out the window and just doing what I want, like I could write it. I could have the next book in the series take place completely in that YA world. You know.
Sure.
Why not? Why not? Who's gonna yell at me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Certainly not your readers. Your reader is going to be like, bring it on. Bring it on.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
That's awesome.
Well, I want to say two things. You've got to come back on, please, to talk about more writing stuff. Some of the stuff that I've mentioned in the podcast before, like Deep Point of View. As I said, I think you're one of the best ones to do that. Even in this book, writing in Deep Point of View allows the reader just to forget everything around and really become enfolded within the book. So I'd love to have you back on for a discussion on that.
Sure.
But I want to save time for you to tell us, we are going to have all the links and everything, but tell us the dates for the Kickstarter so people don't miss out on it, and just, where to find you and what you're working on next.
Yeah. Okay. So it's basically, if you go to Kickstarter.com, and you search for Jules Cassidy, he'll pop right up and wave at you. You'll find it right away, because the campaign is called Jules Cassidy PI, which is the title of the book. And it's only available through Kickstarter at this point. I do intend to release it on the regular old booksellers in early 2026. But with this Kickstarter, which ends on December 8th, a reader will have the ebook in their hand, I hope. I promise by December 11th, which is my son's birthday. So I'm
Nice.
celebrating that
Yes.
with giving everybody a little Jules Cassidy present. So yeah, Kickstarter does have this thing now where you can keep it going for a little bit. So if somebody is listening to this and it's relatively close to December 8th, you could pop over and see if it's open to late comers. That's a new feature because I can tell you from somebody who's done Kickstarters in the past, there's always somebody who emails you the day after it ends and says, here's a lot of money. Can I have the thing? And I'm like, So that's a little bit different with Kickstarter. So it's not as dire, but I'm hoping that people do go there. You can find me too at my website. Then there's an excerpt up from the book, my SuzanneBrockman.com. And it's right on the homepage. The link to the Kickstarter is on the homepage, as well as a link to a Jules Cassidy PI page that shows the cover art and a link to the excerpt. And we did a photo shoot for the cover art a few weeks after I started writing the book because I was out in California and I knew I wanted to bring the famous running couple back. Do you remember, Tina, from those early books? There was always two people running in the little tiny silhouetted figures running, and who are they? And we could never figure out who they were. And I can tell you right now it's Jason and Ed. Yeah. They're my cover models, my son and my husband. Jason's very tall, Ed's not quite as tall. And I needed tall Sam, and Jules is height challenged. And I made them run across the road. There was a day that the sky was just gorgeous. And Jason's husband, Matt, and I had our iPhones with our excellent cameras and just made Ed and Jason run across the street repeatedly.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it was the cover. We got the cover that I wanted. And and we will have all of your links on our webpage. So if you don't have a pen to write down Suze's info, we will have it, including the Kickstarter, on our page as well. Thank you so much. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I even answer that last question?
Yeah. The last question is, what are you working on next? Or are you waiting until after the Kickstarter to start something, or have you already started?
No, I haven't started. I'm kind of letting the ideas kind of really, Tina, oh my God, I finished writing this book like a month ago. That's the beauty of self-publishing, though.
Yeah.
Think about it. If going with a legacy publisher, it would be 2027 before this book came out. Yeah. And so with self-publishing, I finished the book. I've been revising it really dedicatedly, getting the revisions done, having beta readers. This one's been my full focus with the Kickstarter, so I'm just kind of letting the next book stew, good. And it could be a novella, it could be a short, it could the rules are let's see what I start next, but it's going to be soon, and it's going to feature Jules Cassidy.
Awesome. I can't wait. Well, thank you so much, Suze, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, what a conversation. We can't thank you enough for joining us and giving us a really great look at the Kickstarter campaign, at Jules Cassidy PI, and the world of crowdfunding, which is up until now unexplored on this little podcast. So it's pretty cool. If today's episode inspired you, make sure to check out the Kickstarter, show some love for this incredible project because it is absolutely worth it. And Christina, as always, thank you for lighting up the microphone with your energy and enthusiasm and love. And to everybody listening, keep your stories coming, keep showing up for your creativity, and keep writing out loud. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. We really hope that you're enjoying every bit of it, but we would love to hear your feedback. Drop us an email either to matt@writeoutloudpod.com or christina@bookmatchmaker.com. We would love to hear your thoughts. What's working, what's not working, and what do you want to hear more of? Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.